BMAD5121 had their first assignment prep last night. So, yeah. Bit worried about this group in the sense of from the first semester, there was 51 that registered. I think there's 31 that went through. And if I look now, there's about 40 odd that are there somewhere. And less than 50% submitted ICE tasks. So yeah, but I'm preaching to the converted because you guys are always the guys that do everything and attend, and well, I'm just hoping some lost soul that's looking for help will listen to there. We'll watch the collab. Okay, let's start because it's 13 slides are going to go through. Okay, it's a little bit different from last semester, the way I've structured it. Okay, but it's basically the same, but it's a little bit more, there's more material for you that's available that you can do. Okay. So this presentation I've loaded up onto Arc. Let me go and show you. If I can just share before we carry on. Okay. Excuse me, there's your business management. There's your, when you go into your module information, I've created a tab called assignment 1. Okay, there's your assignment. Okay, please make sure you got the right assignment. Remember what happened last semester? It's going to happen again. Somehow students don't. But anyway. All right, then this is the presentation that I'm going to go through tonight is there. Then obviously it will also be captured on the recording. And then I've created a sound bit which basically explains the context of the assignment. And you'll know from the last, I don't know if you've done ICE task 2 yet, 2 and 3, there's a little sound bite there as well. Okay, so you're welcome to listen to that. If you need any more sort of explanation, it's very much like the links. So what I've done is I've taken all the information that I have at my disposal, like the memo and the assignment and this presentation, and I checked the links if there's any information that I missed, and I've chucked it all into what they call Gemini Notebook, and it's created an audio bit for me. So it takes all the information, and it's basically a blog where there's a guy and a girl speaking, and they sort of run through the context of the scenario and things like that. Okay, so you're more than welcome to listen to it if it's going to help. Nice to know if it does help. You can let me know. All the people that are on board here now. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. Any questions on that? Okay, let me just get back the presentation again. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Thought it was going to ghost me or something, whatever. My children use that word. All right, so there's the information. You all know about that. So your submission date 31st of August by 23:59. Jenny, thank you for raising that from the 21st of August to the 31st. Just a bit of what they call a transcription error. Okay. Thank you for that. I hope it didn't cause too much anxiety amongst people. Yeah, it would have been lousy if it was the 21st and I put the 31st. Okay. Then it just explains the penalties again. If you miss the deadline on the 31st of August, and I've got there's a late flag on my end, then I have to minus 15, and you've got up until the 1st of September 23:59 that night you'll be penalized 15%, but after the first of 23.59 on the first, then obviously you will receive zero like it has been all along. Okay. As we're going along, please, you're welcome to ask me questions as we go along. You don't have to wait till the end of the presentation. Just stick up your hand or switch your mic on and just interrupt me. Okay. So there's the first sort of what I've done is I've linked this to the PACER alignment, so it brings in all the learning outcomes and the learning units. Okay. So it will be learning units 1 to 3, not 1 to 5. This probably just gave because there's 5 learning units, but this covers, if you could see, see one. This just lists what the no, it doesn't. Sorry, I thought I'd rectified it. So it's only the first 3 learning units. So theme, oh, there it is. There, sorry, it's theme 5, not learning unit 5. So there you've got learning unit 1, learning unit that's importance of operations management. Learning unit 1 is the operations management performance objectives. Okay, theme 3 would in learning unit 2, so SEM, transport models or modes. And then learning unit 3 is your project management. There's theme 4 and theme 5. Just take note of these particular sections of the learning units. They normally ask in the exam, they ask a lot of stuff out of project management and a lot of stuff in the communications, which is in your second assignment. Okay. All right. So the overview, it's a total of 100 marks. Question 1 is 50 marks, and that's short analytical theoretical questions. Very much the same structure as last semester. Okay. Question 2 is 50 marks, and again, it's the essay type of question that you're used to with the rubric that I use for marking. Okay. There's the breakdown. 2.1 is 20 marks. 2.2 is 20 marks, and then that report structure is 10 marks. Okay. Yeah, usual. The whole thing with and it's also about referencing. All right, and you know my point of view on using AI. You can use it as a source, not a cut and paste tool. Okay, so please, it stands the same. You need to give in-text referencing. You need to have your textbook plus 2 other sources. Okay, and it gets a little bit more sticky this time in as far as penalizing you. So I just don't want to see your textbook. I don't want to see another, and I don't want to see AI as your sole source. Okay. All right, then paraphrasing, very important. That exercise in the task, ICE task 1, what happened was an explanation I did give you is that the campus is quite worried about how students answer questions on Duga, especially the long questions with long sentences. Okay. Obviously, you won't get an essay to write on that thing, but if it's a 15-mark question, you have to have quite good construction of your sentences and your grammar and your language. Okay. Okay, so that's paraphrasing. So if you use AI, also paraphrasing and case study integration is vital. Okay, so you're not just going to get marks for it's the same principle as last semester, guys. Okay. Question 1.1, transportation modes. Learning unit 2, supply chain and transportation. It's 10 marks, as with first semester, theory and application. Okay. So the question 1.1 is 10 marks, 6 for theory and 4 for application. Okay, theory is basically explaining what they ask you there. So the theory is outlined four advantages, e.g. door-to-door, delivery flexibility, accessibility, fast, short haul, and two disadvantages, okay, of the supply chain management and transportation modes. Okay, so there you would explain, okay, four advantages, two disadvantages, and then you will apply to green thread. Okay, that whole 1,600 kilometer, you'll have to digress on that and debate on that. Okay, then discuss specific disruptions mentioned in text, N3 congestion, load shedding, rising fuel costs. That sound bit highlights this quite nicely. Okay. And as I say, if you have any questions, please stop me as we're going along. All right, question 1.2, productivity versus efficiency. Okay, if you're not using your textbook, you're going to find you might have different formulas, but because there's a whole line of thought as far as productivity and efficiency and effectiveness and things like it. Some people have weird ideas on this kind of thing. Please stick to your textbook. Remember, your textbook is your sole source for your exam, so it has to be your primary source when you're completing assignments as well. Okay. 10 marks, 7 marks for theory and 3 marks for application, which is a little bit other way around than it normally asks 50-50 or 60-40 in favor of application. Okay, and remember application means how do we apply it to the case study? How do we apply it in practice? Okay. So what to cover? Descriptions, contrast, efficiency, doing the right thing, minimizing resource waste versus productivity output per unit over time. There's your formulas. Okay. Productivity is total output over total input, whereas efficiency is actual output over standard and or expected output times 100, just to make it a percentage. Okay. Case application, cite actual figures, current shift rates, in other words, 40 completed orders versus target of 60. Obviously, they're not reaching their target, so their productivity would be down. So it would be total output and total input. So your total output would be 40 and uh, and your total input would be that over there, 5 orders per hour. So you have to just work out that kind of, but you have to give examples of the actual case study. Okay. If you're struggling with that, you could even pop it into AI and see what it comes up with. Okay. But just give your reference there. Right. It's a little bit difficult if you're going to get it to calculate, but I doubt whether you're ever going to do a calculation for productivity or efficiency in your lifetime. But you need to understand the concept, and yeah, you can actually get somebody to calculate it for you like AI. All right, 1.3, a line pacer unit is learning unit 3. Then the developer loves project management. Okay. And it's very difficult to align project management to a case study theoretically. I know when you do well and things like that, you do a sort of simulated little project, as well as in PRMA, they give you options to look at and to choose, and then you take it through. So if you've done PRMA or you're doing PRMA, you can use the information, you can use that manual as a source as well. Okay. Okay, so 10 marks, 7 marks for theory and 3 marks for application. What to cover? The theory, define project management, and there's just an example of what a project is, temporary with a defined beginning and end. Okay, so as undertaker, unique uses resources, has a budget, etc., etc. Then the 4 categories of projects. Okay. Outline the 4 project categories: manufacturing, industrial, construction, management, administrative, etc., etc. Then application, identify green threads, fulfillment acceleration project under the correct category: management, business, process, or improvement project. Okay. And justify using case evidence. In other words, warehouse layout change, inventory buffer, IT onboarding, etc., etc. Those are just prompts for you, little hints. Okay. Okay, that's 1.3. Okay, now I'm going to 1.4. Okay, again, it's project management. So if I just look there, there's 10, there's 15, and there's 10. So that's 25 marks for one learning unit, which is a lot. Okay. And this is not, yeah, sometimes it's a little bit difficult, as I said, to relate it or integrate it into a theoretical concept. But if you have ideas on this sort of thing and you're stuck with it, that's what AI is there for. Okay. Check it into AI, get an idea from AI, get an answer from AI, and then paraphrase it and stick it in your answer. Okay. So theory 10 marks, explain a project scope. Okay, you know what a scope is. If you're looking for guideline, if you go to your PRMA assignment 1, I'm not sure whether you're doing PRMA, but I'm sure the full-time guys do it in their second semester, so I would assume that you're doing it. I would look at that sort of those 5 points, okay. But obviously you've got to do it for green threads. Okay, what is the scope? In other words, what the project is all about and what it isn't about. In other words, the inclusion and the exclusions, which are very important. And then the life cycle tools. Okay. Let's have a look. Theory, explain project scope planning. Okay, remember it's a knowledge area from the project management body of knowledge. Defining deliverables, boundaries, inclusions, and exclusions. So you could use the PRMA as a guideline, but don't use that. Obviously, you've got to use green threads, as I said. And control measures to prevent scope creep. Okay, scope creep is something that if we don't have definite boundaries of inclusion and exclusion in our project, we tend to find that work tends to creep into the project. And we know that if work comes into a project, that if you change the scope, you change the time, and you change the cost. If you change the time, you change the scope and the cost. If you change the cost, you change the time and the scope. Okay, that's your triple constraint. And then if you add quality in the middle, it's then your quadruple constraints. Okay, which are obviously evident in all projects, regardless of size. Okay, the application detail the explicit scope boundaries of green threads. Okay, the green threads fulfillment acceleration product. So you've got to go and analyze it. You might want to throw it into AI as well, just to see what that says, and then obviously in agreement, don't cut and paste it, but just paraphrase it and pop it in. Okay. In scope. Okay, setting up Cape Town buffer warehouse layout. These are just ideas for you. Okay, out of scope would be primary manufacturing or changing the textile supplier in Pietermaritzburg. Okay, so have a look at that. So that's question 1.4. Okay, 1.5. Okay, it's project. Okay, so you're looking at another 5 marks there. So that's 30 marks in total for project management. Okay. Now you would obviously think that when the person is setting the exam, that they would focus less on the stuff they've asked in the assignment. It's not my experience, okay? Not my experience. From the past few years that I've been marking the assessment of this particular developer, whoever they may be, I have picked up communication and project management. And then the others like odd 10 operations management and supply chain. And then maybe a calculation on the productivity and efficiency as well. Occasionally. Okay. All right. So what to cover? Define a project status report. Okay, that's basically a progress report. Okay. It's a regular formal update tracking progress against cost schedule. So in other words, are we working according to plan? If we're building a house, are we on target? Okay. Because it doesn't help us in the planning process, which is a huge phase of the life cycle in a project. Okay, it requires, and then the more you do in that kind of thing, the knowledge areas, the more you plan, cross your I's and dot your T's, the better your execution is going to go. But you've got to calibrate your execution against your plan. And if there's some kind of a problem, or even if you're going faster than you should go, you need to adjust your project-based plan. Okay. Explain how Green Threads management can monitor the key KPIs. And that's key performance indexes, which is performance orientated. Okay. You know, in other words, lead time reduction, moving from 6 days to 3 days, stock out reduction, tracking progress from 30% to 10%, installation timeline of backup power solutions. Okay. Alrighty, then we're going to get to question 2. I'm going to chunk this thing quickly. Just hang on, switch off the. All right, are there any questions in? I just